moving on to I think the thing I'm most excited to talk about because I thought this was gonna be like my pseudo main topic for this pod. But me and Phoenix got to play Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man 2. I think we played it almost, or you were like you were a few hours, like maybe 3 or 4 hours ahead of me throughout most of the playthrough. But I don't know. What do you think? Is it as IGN? I think they had it as they had it as their number ranked as their number one Spider-Man game of all time, even though they only gave it an 8, and they gave Miles Morales a 9, and they gave 2018 a 10. I don't know.
That's
I don't.
hilarious.
Well, I mean, I get why they did the numeric ranking there because in some ways this is not a better game. I think this is very hard to rank these. I think all three of those games. It depends on how you like the story in them. I ultimately think that's what it's going to come down to, and that even might change for you over time. Like the 2018 Miles Morales and this game are all very, very similar in gameplay. Like you could argue that objectively this one has the better gameplay, perhaps, but I wouldn't say so much so that that would be what's going to make one better than the other. So if you attach yourself to a certain story or narrative or character more than the other, I think that's going to impact which one of these is greater. Now, out of these, is this grouping of Spider-Man games, I think the best Spider-Man games ever made, probably. I will always have a fondness for old school Spider-Man 2.
I'm in the same
Like,
boat.
just something about that. And I don't think it's a better game. Like, I will say this game, the one thing that I think held me back in the first Spider-Man 2018 as far as giving, I think, more kudos was although I love the swinging, I still held on to liking the swinging of Spider-Man 2 almost better because it felt faster. This game, though, really jacks up your potential speed, like when you can swing, and then, of course, the web wings and stuff like that. This is the best that it's ever felt to swing around the city. The mechanics are just top-notch, looks great, it's expressive, it's got speed to it. I don't think there's necessarily a better swinging experience out there when it comes to Spider-Man games.
Well, since you bring it up, that honestly is a main kind of gripe. Well, not a main, but one of the gripes I have with this game, as opposed to 2018, is I actually felt like a lot of the side stuff in the city, to me, was far less interesting here versus what you did in 2018. I just felt like, I don't know, the rewards you got out of the collectibles and some of the things you were doing, I thought they just felt, I don't know, maybe more satisfying. Like, kind of thinking on it, what did you do here? You collected the Beatles, and the Beatles gave you a, what was it, Spider-Man 2099 reference or something like that?
Oh, the Spider Bots.
Spider Bots, Beatles, whatever. Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle, that's Marvel, right? What else?
No, not.
I know, I'm kidding.
I hate you.
You had that. You had the Mysterio things, which
I thought those were great. You had the
okay.
Chameleon side quest thing. Like
that
had
was
a
cool.
Fun ending to
I did
it.
like the Chameleon thing. Now that was one thing I thought about in the stream was Chameleon in the lore. Is he always
Probably
Kraven's
not. I don't
brother?
remember.
That was such a weird.
They change a lot of lore. They play kind of fast and loose with it, and I'm okay with that. They don't. It's a comic book. I mean, comics have changed the lore and the canon so many times, depending which universe you're in, and nonsense like that. So I'm okay with any adjustments they made
I
there.
kind of liked the pyro stuff, or the. I won't spoil it. What's the cult fire cult stuff? I thought all that was kind of interesting.
Yep.
But yeah, they kind of just rehashed a couple things. Like they rehashed the thing where you had to go around the city and take pictures of stuff,
But I was okay with that. I don't know. I think and I'll just be honest, I'm going to come across more positive with this game for I think one really big reason, and we'll probably hit on this when we get to the Game of the Year conversation. Most of this year, even though I know this has been, a banner year for gaming, 2023, best
we've
games
talked about
ever,
this.
blah,
Yeah,
blah.
I can see where you're going. Yeah.
I have been a little more let down by, partially it's the games that I have played. I haven't played every, Game of the Year contender that's out there. I haven't touched Baldur's Gate, stuff like that. But the other big ones I played that I've somewhat anticipated have disappointed me to a fairly decent extent. Tears of the Kingdom.
Starfield.
Yeah, Starfield. There's a few others. And part of it, I think, is, the expectations that were in play for those.
I think if you would have played 16, you'd probably feel the same way about that one. But I loved 16, so.
My point being, though, is my expectations for those weren't really met. And I typically try to go into a game with fairly leveled expectations. I don't get super hyped, but you know, we all bring in things that we want to see in a game. For Tears of the Kingdom, I wanted to have more real dungeons. It didn't have that, which brought it down a level. Starfield, man, I just wanted to be a different game, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but this is the first game that I felt like the expectations as far as what Insomniac advertised met exactly what I was expecting from it. I was not expecting some huge advancement in Spider-Man. Maybe some people were. I just wanted another Spider-Man game. Pretty much in line with what they'd done before, which seemed like exactly what they were giving us. And this met me right where I
I
wanted to be at.
agree.
I didn't feel like I was
Mm-hmm.
disappointed in this game. Like, could it have been better? Sure, but I felt like because I didn't have these let down expectations, I enjoyed my time with it more. And to be fair, that is on me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably unfair to put that on the game in many cases, but it helped my experience. Feeling like a game didn't disappoint me in some weird way. Not that that should be the major metric, but I came across like even stuff that I think annoyed a lot of people, like the side quests and stuff like that. Yeah, they were kind of repetitive. Yes, it was the same kind of stuff you saw in Spider-Man 1. I didn't care because I expected that. I just wanted to swing around the city, do some little Spider-Man activities, and that's exactly what I got to do. So
I
I was pretty keen on this whole game.
I wholeheartedly agree. Like I felt like I got out of this game what I wanted, even though it wasn't like it's probably not going to be my game of the year. It it was everything I wanted. Like what I mean, what more if you buy a Spider-Man game are you wanting to do? You get to take on Venom. You get Peter, emo Peter.
Mhm.
Uh, you get to play as more than one Spider-Man. You get to swing around the town, take on some of Spider-Man's biggest villains. It's like, yeah, I agree. Like while I ultimately think I was a bit disappointed with some of the Venom oriented stuff, I wholeheartedly I enjoyed the game through and through. Like honestly, when we get into the game of the year talks, like while in terms of like what I want Alan Wake 2 to be my game of the year, but I'm not finished with it yet. We'll see when I'm done with it. But like as far as right now, I would say this and 16 for me are like my two neck and neck, game of the year selections. I mean, if things go good with Alan Wake, I think I'll probably lean towards that one. But like, yeah, and that I think's impressive. Like, it's among my like I would say this is in my top three favorite probably gaming experiences this year.
Yeah. And we can get to that as we get into the game of the year conversation. I don't want to keep us here forever. I do want to mention a few of the, if I was going to nitpick, and honestly, these are really just nitpicks for me. Some people take bigger issue with them. I miss stealth a little bit. Like, not that you
I
can't do
agree.
stealth in this
Oh
game.
yeah.
It
Hmm.
is not heavily encouraged, though. And it even removed certain gadgets that you used to have that made stealth more engaging. Like, you used to have, like, trip webs and stuff like that. That stuff was gone.
And
So,
it. Oh, sorry, I don't want to.
no,
No,
what do you say?
it's especially um, it's especially leaves kind of a divot because like one of the people you're facing in this game, I thought about it in the streams. You're facing a hunter, someone who is all
Mhm.
about hunting and hiding and stealth, and it kind of came off as disappointing that like you didn't come. There weren't any sections of you combating that or staying away from him. There was no. He really didn't even feel like a hunter. He felt just like a playboy guy who has like an entire group behind him because he's wealthy, and it's like
Kraven, I didn't dislike him as a character, but I did not like that he had an army. To me, that made
he just had
no
money in an
sense for
army.
Kraven.
Yeah.
Like, for a guy who's supposed to be hunting, he hunted nobody. He told
No.
all of his army guys to go and pretty much capture everything. He showed up at the end to like poke you with a knife. So I thought that was really kind of out of character for what like I thought he was done well from like his look was good. The like he was fairly intimidating when he was on the screen, but they didn't have him do anything else. I thought that was just disappointing. I'll tell you, I kind of wish, and I also thought they were going to do this for a little bit, even though I knew some marketing material. Spoiler alert: Harry ends up being Venom in this. Not that that's, I think, a big spoiler alert. I wish it would have been Kraven. I wish he would have ended up
That's what I
being the
thought was
Venom
going
in
to
this,
happen. I thought it was going to take Craven when it jumped off of Peter
which to me makes a lot more sense too. So
because
like,
of
I
the
think
size. That's like one thing.
I think the size, like, because I mean, you gotta think it's comic book, so it doesn't always translate. But if you think back to, like, Eddie Brock ended up being a big dude as Venom because it was Eddie Brock. He had a bigger build. Spider-Man, when he had the suit, didn't get bigger, so it almost made sense to have a bigger stature guy become Venom in this. It also, I think, narratively would have been more interesting. Like, Harry starts with the symbiote because he needs it to survive. He loses it to Peter. Kraven steals it because Kraven needs it too. Like, the other thing is Kraven's dying in this
He's
game. His
dying, yeah.
whole kind of motivation is he wants to have one last great final hunt and have a prey that can take him out. But what if he found out there was a way that he could become an even better hunter and become, the symbiote equivalent of that? Like, I feel like he should have had that motivation to get the symbiote. And then I think it would have been more interesting because Peter then would have had to make a decision. Do I kill Kraven and Venom with the symbiote, or do I save the symbiote and try to give it to Harry to save his life? Like, I think that could have been like an interesting dynamic the story could have taken. They could have even made like a choice if they wanted to have a branching path, which that's not really where this game goes. But
Interesting.
that would have been more interesting, right? I think Harry getting it back at the end, it played fine. It was predictable, which I didn't love, but it was fine. I didn't have a huge issue with the Venom stuff, like as far
And
as what they did, but I think they could have made it better.
you could have made some like really interesting sections of a supervillain who has the power and crazy wackiness of the alien symbiote and also has like the cunning and hunting senses of a Kraven. Could you imagine? Like
Yeah.
that would have been the ultimate. That would have been something that really Peter Parker shouldn't have been able to beat. And that would have been like really fascinating to have some like dire situations of him, desperately on death's bed escaping from this creature.
Mhm.
Like you could have made it really spooky, and now that I think about it, that could have been really cool.
Yeah, I think the Venom plotline got really safe at the end. It wasn't bad. It was fine, but it didn't surprise me. I think the Craven thing could have been cool. Now, to be fair, there was some other narrative stuff I really liked. When Peter stole the symbiote and he was basically chasing Mary Jane while he was like taken over by the suit. He was like asleep the whole time or
Hmm.
something. Like, I thought that was a fun section. Honestly, that was probably the best Mary Jane section. I couldn't stand the rest of them.
I couldn't stand the
Um,
scream or shriek or whatever.
I didn't hate it,
It was
but
kind
it
of
did go on
odd,
a little long.
dude.
Well, I thought it's
That boss battle had like 4 sections to it.
5 phases or something.
Yeah,
Like
like why? What is
two or
this?
three times. I thought it was neat to bring because I mean that is a Venom, or not
Yeah,
Venom,
a
but
Venom
symbiote
sim. Yeah.
incarnation we haven't seen too often. So that her becoming Mary Jane was interesting. I'm glad it didn't go on the entire game, but I even think that went on a little too long. I still didn't love the Mary Jane sections. She was way too overpowered with that stun gun, and I think it almost made it it hurt the integrity of the other characters. Like, so if Mary Jane has a super powered stun gun that can take out any enemy one shot, why the heck would Peter and Miles not integrate that into their suit where they can take out anybody in one shot? Instead, Miles is freaking electrocuting 30 people and they get right back up. Like, the parody there just really didn't work for me. And I know the game director came on, was an IGN
Oh
interview,
yeah.
and his argument when those sections were brought up is like, well, we wanted Mary Jane to feel like, a capable character that she can, hang with the guy kind of thing, and he didn't care that she was OP. He was like,
What do
doesn't
you?
matter if that's
But
a big deal or
it,
not
it
because she
doesn't
thinks
have
he's
any. It doesn't have anything to do with. I'm trying not to. To me, it's not like a sexism viewpoint. To me, it's more she can't. She's not supposed to keep up with them because they're superheroes. It has nothing to do with them being guys and her being a girl. It's the fact that she wasn't bitten by a radioactive spider. That's why she shouldn't be able to like take on
I
like.
feel like she could have done something else that wasn't combative. Or, honestly, and this is probably a hot take nobody's gonna like. I liked her better in the first game, like where it was just her trying to be
They're
stealthy,
more stealthy,
walking
sneaky,
around.
and
It at
but they
least made
even
sense for her.
and they even did that with some of the Miles sections in the first game, where like he wasn't like fighting people. He was like
Yeah.
stealthily staying away from Mr. Negative's people. It's like
I'm still not saying that I liked her in the first game, but I preferred that because I felt like it fit the character better. This, I feel like it doesn't make sense for the character to this extent that they have her. She's basically John Wick as she's running through taking people out.
yeah.
And I say it hurts, I think, the believability of the other characters because why wouldn't they have this technology? Why is she on the same par as them in some ways? Like, and the director's take came across kind of brash. Like, I know what he was trying to do, and he probably didn't mean it quite the way he said it, but I didn't like his take. It was basically like, I don't care what the
It
fans
was
say,
very like
she's fine.
defensive, and it's like, don't come off defensive. Like,
I get why they did it. I just didn't love that choice. I don't think there was anything else I really cared
there
about.
was
I think I've mentioned most of it.
the only other thing I would say was a minor gripe. Well, I won't say minor. Yeah, minor gripe. I don't know, just kind of the way they handled Venom as a whole. Like I loved what they did with Venom in a couple of the sections, but how they handled the end, it ended up just being the Venom somehow was spreading at like roots across the city, and he was like
It went very Web
move.
of Shadows. Did you ever play
Yeah,
that?
no, I haven't, but yeah, he's like physically moving big rocks of earth with the thing, and then all of a sudden he can like create a bunch of mini venoms, and
Yeah, it escalates really quick.
that
Yeah.
got handled way too easily. It's like Peter's having all this trouble getting the symbiote off of himself, but in terms of
Mm,
getting the symbiote off of other civilians, he just walks up and he rips
yeah.
them out, and it's like,
I agree with that. I feel like towards the end, the pacing got really fast.
mm-hmm.
It may have been too the way I played the game. So the way I play these games is I do like as much side content as humanly possible when it comes available. So I spent the first 10, 15 hours of the game barely progressing the main story, just doing every side thing I could. At a certain point, I finished all the side stuff, and then all I had left were main missions. So they felt like they went really fast. I just did one next, next, next. Maybe if I would have spread them out a little differently, the pacing would have felt better. So that might have been just the way I played the game.
So
But
can I throw
I don't
something
know.
at you?
Good.
As much as I liked Miles Morales, I didn't love it as much as 2018. Some of these criticisms that we're going through it are making me wonder, did you like Miles Morales less than this one or more? Because now I'm thinking on it, I think Miles Morales to me may have been more on par with this one. I
I
don't
said
know.
for me, it's all about the story that you care about or which one grabbed you on. Like, I can't differentiate the gameplay enough between all of them to make a big enough difference. So if I was in the mood to see Miles' story again, that's gonna be the one I want to raise up
I
higher. If it's
think
the
I would
first
go with
one,
this one just a fraction over Morales. Although I
they're
did love
they're
the
all
Rhino section in Morales is awesome, chasing him through the city.
if I had to, I don't know. I think they're all just kind of on the same line for me based upon how well you grasp any of the narratives. I might like the first one still better than all of them,
Oh, I do. I
maybe,
definitely still prefer the first one.
but I don't know. I don't want to stick on this one too long. We're gonna lose metal, and we still have a lot to talk about.
Nah, I
So,
know.
um, but I don't know. I enjoyed it. I
So
said I might be a little biased based upon my recent experience with other games, but I enjoyed this one quite a bit.
so where does this rank in your all-time favorite Spider-Man games? Is this over Take Two or Spider-Man One on PS1 or because that's
But
personally
I
Spider-Man One PS1 is still my fave. And that's purely like nostalgia. I understand
Yeah,
it probably hasn't aged well and stuff like
like
that.
if I'm trying to be objective about this at all, because I mean, those games I'm never going to be, I think, really top just because I grew up with them. Spider-Man PS1, Spider-Man 2, the movie. Like, I don't think I can pick one of these games though. Like, I think for me, technically, from an objective standpoint, the Insomniac Spider-Mans are the top iteration of Spider-Man games. Like, if you're just wanting best overall feel, solid narrative, solid gameplay, yes, they are at the top. But if you grew up with Tobey Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, I think is always going to be really appealing and have a certain place. And if you want something that's really like geared to like the 90s animated Spider-Man, that's going to be PS1 Spider-Man. So I don't think I can really rank these objectively. I'm just going to put the Spider-Man Insomniac towards the top because I know from a gameplay narrative perspective, they, I think, deserve to be up there, but I don't know.
No,
I can't rank them. I'm sorry. I can't do it.
like choosing between your kids.
It really is. Well, I can't break the objective
Every
side
parent
versus
has a
the
favorite
subjective
kid.
side.
They're lying.
Anyways.
All
We
right.
do